Welcome to the Why Not podcast with me, Chrissy Hawkins. In a world where everybody asks you why, I'm here to ask why not. So sit back and relax or walk and listen and join me on this journey as we try to answer this never-ending question: what makes people say, why not? Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So I have another interview with someone from the racing industry. We have James Brennan on today, and he is racing correspondent with the Grassroots Gazette. So James actually worked in the industry for many years, so he was a jockey and he actually started quite late. So we actually talk about that and what it was like, picking up horse riding and coming into it at maybe slightly later than other people would think. And his own experiences and moving into becoming a racing correspondent after his time in racing, and how it brings you back to the sport, and I suppose you never really get away from it. So I hope you enjoy these guys. Hi guys, welcome back to Why Not. So today I have the racing correspondent from the Grassroots Gazette. You may have seen him on Instagram as From the Horse's Mouth Racing. Well, his real name is James Brennan and he is here to join us. So James, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks very much for having me on, Chrissy.
Oh, I'm delighted
Hope
you've
you're
come
well.
on. Just before we get started, can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is James Brennan. I'm a horse racing correspondent for the Grassroots Gazette. I do a lot of articles. I go racing quite a bit, and I try get interviews done. Um, with going racing and that, and a good bit of content as well. So, and I love doing it. I think that's the main thing.
Yeah. So how did you get into racing? Was it something that was always a passion for you, or?
I got into racing. I was about, I'd say, 15 years of age. And it was just by chance. I went out to Tramore races one day with my dad. I hadn't a clue what I was going out to watch, and I hadn't a clue about horses, to be honest. And I just got a bug from day one. He brought me racing then more again, and I was like, "Geez, this is something I would love to get involved in." And I wanted to be a jockey. Now, at the time, I was pretty heavy, and that's being honest. I was very chubby. I was over 8 stone. Now, I know it probably doesn't sound like a lot to people, but I was carrying a lot of weight because I'm a small build, like, and I was carrying a lot of weight. So the more I kept going, the more I wanted to do it. And then I just started picking up riding lessons and that. So I applied up to the racing academy up in Kildare, and I done that through a careers guidance teacher in De La Salle College here in Waterford. So they sent down forms. I filled out the forms. I sent them away, and Race got back to me then and called me up for a 2 week trial in Kildare up in Race. And thankfully, I was brought in then to do the course for the 10-month course up in Race. And that's how it all really started. That's the more I kept doing it, the more I got a bug for it.
Brilliant. And just for anyone who isn't familiar, what is race?
So, Race is an apprentice school. So anyone from the age of 16 can go up to race. Now, back when I was up there, they used to have it. You could be a certain weight to get in there, and it was actually 8 stone. But now I think they're not as strict on the weights and that. So basically, it's an apprentice school for jockeys. Someone that wants to be a jockey. Now, not everyone becomes a jockey. Not everyone might ride in a race. A lot of people after the 10-month course might go back to school. Some might get jobs in yards. You know, it all depends what they really want. But the best thing about it was when you're up there for the 10 months, you're also doing schoolwork as well. So you're getting an education as well, which is really good. So I would highly recommend it for anyone now, and that's thinking of becoming a jockey or even getting involved with horses as well. There's plenty to learn from up there.
Yeah. And so you like your first time at races was 15. Had you ever sat up on a horse before that?
I was out in a riding school. Um, two riding schools here in Waterford. There's Calaffrin Equestrian Centre and Stonehaven Equestrian Centre. So because I knew I wanted to be a jockey, what I done was I said, right, I need to be able to ride a horse. Now, when you go up to race, they'll show you everything from the start, from the ground up. They show everything. But I said, if I have some little bit of an experience, just the smallest little thing, and even how to hold the reins, even the small thing, walking a horse, trotting on a horse, cantering, you know, and that's how I started, was actually in the riding schools. And then I went up to race then, and as I said, from the ground up, they showed me everything that I needed to know. And anyone else that was up there as well, if they had more experience than me, it didn't matter. Everyone started at the bottom and kept going.
It's brilliant that they have something like that you can come in as someone with not a huge amount of experience and still come out the end, like, with an education in horse riding and,
Yeah,
not in horse riding, but like racing and being able to sit up on a horse to ride.
yeah, it was. Like for myself, like when I went up there, and I had very little experience, very little experience, and when you're around other young lads and young girls, and you see it, you think, you nearly see them a mile away who has experience. And now you might get some of them could be riding out in the yard and they'll go through the apprentice school. You might have some like myself just starting off riding a horse in a riding school, but you could nearly tell who had more experience in that. Like, but at the end of the day, everyone was treated equally, and that was the best thing about it. No matter if you were had the potential to be the next champion jockey, it didn't matter. You were treated the same way and you were treated fairly. And everyone done the same with the classwork as well. Everyone got on great. I really, really enjoyed it. And it just brought me on leaps and bounds.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. It is great that they have everyone building those foundations. So take me back now to that first day in Tramore. What was it that just lit you up about racing?
Funny enough, what actually happened was my father was actually going to bring my sister racing. And I think she had a camogie match. So I said, well, I'll go instead of her. So he brought me racing. As I said, I wouldn't have had a clue from a horse's head to its tail. I hadn't a notion. I didn't know who was who. I didn't know any jockeys, trainers, anything. So it just so happened then Charlie Swan was down there. He was riding around Tramore. And my father said, oh, look, Charlie Swan is in the parade ring there. He said, it'd be nice to get his autograph. So I just kind of went with it, like, thinking, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. And then a cousin of mine, then she worked for a local radio station. So my father had sent it to her because she was kind of linked in with the parade ring and that. So she actually said, look, I'll go one better and I'll get you a photo taken with him. So I got my photo taken with Charlie Swan. I still hadn't a clue who he was. And my father was explaining, like, he rides this to Brack, he's champion jockey. And I was like, okay. So the more he was telling me, the more I was like, all right, okay. So he brought me, as I said, he kept bringing me racing. But I think, like, he's even said it to himself, deep down, he didn't see what I was seeing in my own head, thinking I was getting more of a bug. And I think he just thought, like, he enjoys going racing. But little did he know what was to kind of come down the line, like. So that it was the first day that I was brought to Tramore. That's when it really, it was like a trigger went, and I just thought, yeah, I'd like this now.
Yeah. And was it like watching the horses or was it getting to meet Charlie Swan? Do you think which, or was it a combination of both?
I think it was a combination of both, and it was just watching the jockeys coming out of the parade ring, and my father was telling me who was who and who they ride for and that, and it was things like that, and the colours as well. Like, it's the small little things, wearing the colours, cantering down to the start, and even the whole buzz of the whole race then as well on top of it, and coming back in. It was, I suppose, it was really everything that caught me. Like, that's, to be honest, I just thought, Jesus, this is something I would like to try. Like,
And just like that, you went for it.
just like that, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but like, it's good. Like, I think it's really cool that you saw something and you're like, I want to go, and you just went for it, as opposed to there's so many people who don't, they think about it forever.
yeah.
And, there'd be plenty of people same age, 15, looking at that and go, I'm too old to start that. I need to be riding since I was 8, or. where
So
you were able to come in with that mentality and just like give it a go, basically.
yeah, well, I would say the same thing to anyone out there, any young boy, young girl, I would say the same thing. If it's something you're wanting to do, maybe look into it. Maybe try get up to the apprentice school, go and get riding lessons, or even get into a yard, and you'll always have someone there in a yard that will always help you. You
Mm,
know, and the more experience you get, the more you'll enjoy it, and that's what I really liked about it.
yeah. So when you came out of race, what happened then? What next? Where did you go?
So I finished up in race. I was actually sent out to a trainer while I was in race. So I stayed with him. It was Emmanuel Hughes. He's on the Curragh. So I stayed with Emmanuel. He told me, "Look, I'll look after you. I'll get out. You get your apprentice license out." Now he'd a small few horses in. It wasn't a big yard, but I have to be honest. He looked after me, and he had a lot of brood mares as well. So not only was it just racing, he was bringing me to the sales as well, and he'd have horses going to the sales and that. So that was another option, if it came down the line that things didn't work out, race riding or anything. So he gave me my first ride on the track at Gorham Park. It was 2002, and I was with Emmanuel for over 2 years. So I'd be forever grateful for the opportunities he gave me and taking me under his wing. You know,
How important do you think it was having someone like him as kind of like a mentor when you were first starting off in the career?
I think it was massive, to be honest, because he had a good head lad there, David Malloy. Now a lot of people would know him as Dizer, so he would have rode a lot of his work for on horses on work mornings. He would have had jockeys coming in then, say coming over to the Corda and riding pieces of work and that. So he was giving me that opportunity as well to ride with the likes of, it was Tygo Shea at the time, and Jerry O'Dwyer is actually he's like training out in America now, and the likes of jockeys like that. And right next door to him, he actually had Pat Gilson. So Pat Gilson, I think, was actually champion apprentice. It would have been a good while back now, but it was what I was very lucky with in some sense was anytime I rode in a race, one thing about me, I always wanted to learn. So I always, at the time now, people will probably think, what's a cassette? So it was the video of the race, and Pat would go through it with me, or Emmanuel would go through it with me. And then only just down the road from him then was Tommy Carmody. So he used to send me down to Tommy 2 mornings a week. So I was getting more experience away from the yard that I was in with other new horses and that. Like, and as I said, with things like that, it's the more you do it, the more experience you get and the more confidence you get.
Yeah, I think as well. Okay, it's like racing, maybe in particular, it's very easy for people to look at it and think you just point the horse and go. What are things that people do not realize you have to be doing while on the horse? Like you're not just holding on. I know you're not like, but you're not just pointing them in the right direction. What is it? Do you feel that a lot of people don't realize the nuances of it?
First for a jockey is balance. So in particular, you see a lot of flat jockeys and they're right off the toe of the iron. So it's basically their toe is in the iron. National hunt jockeys, obviously it balance as well, going over jumps or anything. But a lot of people say from the outside like that wouldn't know a whole lot. And I've often even tried to explain this to a couple of my friends, and some might get it, some might not. And I suppose it's in any walk of life with horses. You need a good pair of hands, you know, especially with race horses. They're very highly strung.
Mm.
And if you can get a horse to switch off and respond for you as well, that's the biggest part of it is a horse responding in a race. But if you can get a horse to switch off, I think hand a jockey needs a good pair of hands.
Mm.
And you'd see it in a lot of people. You even see it when a horse, in particular, actually, if you look for the next time you're racing, when a jockey gets legged up, they'll barely touch the reins. If you watch, top jockeys, like they'll get up, they'll leave their feet out of the irons because they're leaving the horse relaxed, and they barely even touch the reins. And the first thing they do, and a lot of people don't know this, is when they get up, they pull the plaits out of the mane, and that's basically to hold on to the mane, whether they're going over a jump or coming out of the stalls. But for me, I think two things. Well, there's a couple of things: balance, a good pair of hands, and a good clock up in your head to
Mm.
judge a race and the pace.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize when you are going down the long stretches, like the horses aren't sprinting the whole way around. You need to keep them at a pace, and especially if you're jumping, like you need to, like I can see it when it's happening. I'm not into racing, but I can see when a horse come off stride fences from my own background, and I'd be like, you know,
God, it's amazing what they can do when if they land the far side of a fence and they know either peck on landing or that. It's amazing how a horse can just get back up and get back, say after two strides after, and get back into the same stride they've been in. Like I it's for me, it's unbelievable. But as I said, it's down to a good jockey as well. I think that will get a horse into a good rhythm and have him enjoying it as well.
yeah. That's true. Like that's one thing as well. Like it's the horses do enjoy it, when they're at it. Like you see the ones who lose their jockey and they're like, no, I'm going for this.
They'll either be first past the line with no jockey, or they could jump a rail and maybe God only knows.
The generally end off up somewhere.
Or they'll go somewhere, but they'll always come back to the parade ring.
Yeah.
They'll follow the rest of them back. Thank God.
Yeah. No, that is a good thing about them.
Yeah.
So your first race, Gorham Park, how did it feel to be sitting up there and getting ready to go?
For me, at the time, like as I said before, I was a little bit raw, so I needed more experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I was grateful it happened, and the whole buzz of it was brilliant. But to describe it to anyone out there, when I look back and think, it's like I was 17 at the time. But to look back and think, it's like a 17-year-old walking out onto the pitch in Anfield and you're playing against top level footballers. This was nearly the same thing going into the weighing room. You're riding against Mick Canaan, Johnny Murta, Kieran Fallon. You're nearly in awe, that kind of way. But at the same time, you're there to do a job. And that's what it is. It is a job. Like, well, it's not a job when you love it, but you are there. There is owners wanting horses to do their best. You are there to keep them happy too. Like,
Well, like it is still a job, even if you enjoy it. It's still a job. It's your career. It's what you're working at, and yeah, I'd say it's interesting as well. Like you see these people that like you watch on the telly, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be racing with him.
it's crazy because, like, for example, there was one day I was up at the Curragh and Kieran Fallon was actually he was after being brought in to the stewards room, and it just so happened that Ted Welch had a horse running in a maiden, and Ruby Welch rode it. Now you wouldn't have seen Ruby riding on the flat very often at all. So I came into the to the dressing room and there was a TV in the corner. So I came in to watch the replay, and Ruby Welch turned around. He said, "Fallon is sitting there." So I said, "Okay." I said, like a young, 17, 18-year-old, thinking like, Jesus, like, I better get out of the way, like.
Mm.
And he turned around, he said, "Look, whatever you do, don't move." He said, when he comes back in, he said, "Don't get out of the spotlight." So I was thinking, I can't do this. Like, he was like, "Just do it," he said, "and see what happens." I thought I could end up outside the door now in 2 seconds. Like, but it's when you see lads like that, and like in fairness, Kieran Fallon, he didn't do anything. He came back in, he just started laughing. But it's lads like that. I know they're at the top of their game, but for any young person out there, approach them. They're very approachable. You can talk to them no matter who they are. And if you look, it's like anything in life. If you ask someone for advice, someone will always lead you in the right path and give you that advice. And that's what I have to say about any of those lads that are in the weighing room. Even now, obviously, I wouldn't know a lot of them now, but it'd be the same. Any young fella or girl coming up through it. If you have any questions, ask them. They will help you, and always ask questions. because if you don't ask questions, you don't get answers, and if you
Yeah.
don't get answers, you don't. Where do you go?
Yeah, no, do you know what? I totally agree on that because I was part of the hosting team for the Grassroots Rider Academy. And like that, we had, we had Joseph Murphy there, with Lucinda Fredericks, we had, you know, Heike Holstein, Dane Rollins. These were some of like the top of the top, like in their game. And I think they're some of the nicest people I've ever met. And they just wanted to help. Like you could ask them questions, you could have the chats with them, you could have fun with them. And I think that like really shows you, when people are at that level, they want to help people get to that level.
Yep, I
And
totally agree.
yeah, they're just so nice. Like and it's funny because you almost expect them not to be. I don't know why.
It's probably because maybe something. Maybe this is my own opinion. Maybe I suppose like you're probably thinking, well, they're riding group winners nearly every 2 weeks or that, and they're at the top of their game. They're on TV. They're on for different reasons and whatever. And you're probably thinking outside. You're probably thinking, how do I approach them? But at the end of the day, they're human. They're human, and for them to get to that level, they had to do the same thing as someone that's only walking in the door. It has to do the same thing, start from the bottom to get to the top. And they're always approachable, they're always helpful. And thankfully, like racing is a close knit game like that, you know, that people do help each other, like
Yeah, that's what you want to hear as well. Because I suppose
yeah.
racing does kind of have a bad rap, doesn't it?
As in,
As in, people who know nothing about horses have bad opinions about racing a lot of the time.
well, there's a lot of people do, but as I said, if you're not involved in it or involved in anything or something that you don't particularly like or follow, it's very easy to knock something.
Mm,
Like if I had no interest, just for example, if I had no interest in football, the first thing I'd probably say is, well, why is he on £1 million a week to kick around the ball of leather?
yeah,
If you have no interest, you're probably not going to show it. But I always try and encourage people to go racing and say, look, just give it a go. You'd never know. You could have an unbelievable day out, and you will have a great day out. And a lot of people that I've tried to get to go racing, the first thing they say is, "Geez, I'd love to go back again."
yeah,
You know, but and that's what I would encourage people to do: is go racing, even if you've never gone, go enjoy the day out. You don't have to have a bet if you don't want to, but it's just to watch everything and take it all in.
yeah. I think there is definitely like a, a lot of people who think, in a sense, that it's cruel to the horses and they're just used as, ways to make money. For anyone who thinks that about racing, what do you have to say to them?
Racehorses are more looked after than humans. They are really, really well looked after. And again, it's if anyone went into a yard, they'd see it for themselves. The treatment that racehorses get is unbelievable, and I've known it for experience myself being in yards. It's unbelievable. Like they're okay, they might do their piece of work or whatever. They're washed down, they're rugged up, the best of food, best of vitamins, nutrition, everything there. And not only that, then they have nowadays they have like spa treatments and all that for their legs and that.
Yeah,
And people don't see that and don't know that. And swimming pools as well, like obviously for muscles, or a horse might be off for a while or something, like, or it might be another way of getting a horse that extra bit fit. But people don't see that, like.
mm,
And one thing I'd say to people is, especially coming now, it won't be long coming into the summer, is for anyone that thinks that way, the first thing I'd say is look at a horse's coat and you'll see him absolutely shining. The reason they're shining is because they're so well looked after.
mm. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think even if you go down to a race day and you look at the horses coming out in the parade ring and you look at the grooms walking them, and just you can just see the pride and the love they have for the animals. Like they aren't just walking around for the jockey to get on. Like if you actually see that and experience that, you'll get a better view of what racing is actually like.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, you could have say some yards, say the bigger yards, you might have four horses to look after, and they could be the four horses you go racing with, and that groom is there every morning, 6 maybe 7 days a week with that horse. They grow a bond with him. They go racing with him, and they're really looked after like a child. Do you know, they're so well looked after, and any groom you see at the races leading around, they're there because they want to be there, and they're there because they love racing, and they're there because they love their job. And I take my hat off to every single one of them. The hours they put in are unbelievable. Do you
Yeah.
know? And you'll still, at the end of the day, whether a horse finishes first, third, or last, you'll still see that groom coming back in, smiling from ear to ear. And I think it's great to see, like, how many how many sports, if someone finishes last, you see someone coming in with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
It's the love for the horse. The horse has come back in safely, and that's the main thing as well.
Yeah. 100% it is like everyone wants to see the horses come back in safely. It's
Yeah,
not well, we lost one. Like nobody looks at it that way.
exactly.
Um okay, so how long did you stay in the racing and riding?
So I started in race in 2001. I rode my first race in 2002, which was in Gorham Park, and the last time I rode on the track was 2006. That was the last time on the track, was at Navan. But I stopped actually working in the industry. It was 2009.
Okay.
I always said, look, I'd give it to the age of 30. That if a job came up, that I was kind of thinking, like, do I really want to be riding out for another 20 years? You know, and I said, look, if I didn't make it as a jockey, I'd give it to the age of 30. If things weren't working out, I still gave it to the age of 30.
Mm.
And it just by chance one morning the phone rang, and it was a job in the factory. So I just thought, you know what, I'll take it Monday to Friday. You know, it's not 6 7 days a week and all different hours, and I took it. I'm still there, and I'll be there 9 years now in July. So I'm still there, but the horses never leaves you.
Yeah, that's 100% one thing for sure.
Just a bug.
And did you when you left, did you go completely away from the racing for a while, or did you stick kind of like going to races, or like what kind of was that transition like for you?
So when I left and I started in the factory, first couple of weeks it was very strange, very strange to think like I have a Saturday and a Sunday off. It was
Doesn't
I
happen with
couldn't
horses.
really get my head around. I couldn't really get my head around it.
Mm.
And it was the first couple of weeks. Then like you're still tuned into everything that's going on, like you're watching the race cards and watching the race, and but then I just came away from it altogether, and just happened to go to Cheltenham there two years ago in November, and was there watching the race, and I actually went with my cousins in Birmingham and my sister, and they were all basically going for like a jolly day out, like, you know, kind of an ease up kind
Up
of
for the
thing, like.
set.
And I just said in my own mind, I said, you know what? Now I'm here now. I want to see the place. And the more I was watching it, I thought, Jesus, I actually do miss going racing, like, and you know. And then it just so happened that last year I was on Instagram and it popped up with the Grassroots. So I contacted, it was Aoife Brady.
Mm.
I contacted her because I'd seen she put up it was like a kind of an ad for like for writers. So I just wondered what experience would I need, and she just said, "Look, we'll kind of talk you through everything, and the rest is history." Then I just got involved with the Grassroots. It kind of just took off then, like.
And had you kind of already started doing your own little bit of maybe blogging or, your Instagram page? Had you started the kind of racing thing, or did it all really start when you started with Grassroots, writing for Grassroots?
It I'd say it was just literally about 2 weeks before I started with the Grassroots. I actually changed my name to From the Horse's Mouth Racing,
Mm,
and I was up in John Shark Hanlon's yard for an open morning, and I had put up a couple of videos, horses riding out up there, and a few photos and that, and I'd noticed, Jesus, a lot of people are kind of taking interest in this. And then it was 2 weeks later, then it was when I got involved properly with the Grassroots, and I met Shane at the Curragh,
mm.
and he brought me in, showed me around the parade ring and what they were kind of what they're looking for and what they want to do and what they want to see. And I just thought, Jesus, this is definitely something that I want to do. Like, you're basically in the parade ring. You're only a hand stretch away from the likes of Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore, all the top lads. And I thought this is something I definitely want to do.
That's class being in there, isn't it?
So the more I got involved with the Grassroots, then everything is practically going through the Grassroots.
Yeah, it's like that. Like the first time you went racing, like you're like, I want to do this, and then like you saw that, and you're like, I want to do this. Like it's like straight away, you know what you want, and you're like,
It,
yes, let's get involved.
yeah, it's like a light bulb moment, really.
Yeah.
But as going back to what we said earlier, you get a lot of people out there will think about it. Just don't think about it. Just do it. Because sometimes opportunities knock. If you don't open that door, you don't know what could happen. And 6 months down the line, you could be saying, "I shoulda, woulda, coulda."
Mm.
Just do it. That's what I would say to anybody out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. There's so many times I've not done it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. There's
Yeah.
times I've not done things myself, and I know I'm nearly preaching here, but opportunities like that, if it's something you really want to do, just go for it. Any walk of life, no matter what it is, just go for it.
Yeah. And how have you found it doing the racing correspondent for the Grassroots? What has that been like for you, from your own development? How have you found it like?
I that's I'm really enjoying it now. At the start, when with the articles and that, I was kind of thinking, Jesus, is this something I could be good at, or could this go downhill very quickly? Like, um, it's the articles that, strangely enough, I didn't think I it'd be something that I'd like doing, but it's probably the articles I get a bit of kick out of it because it's going up on the Grassroots website and a lot of people are seeing it. There's what, over 50,000 subscribers. Like,
Yeah.
I, I I do like what you call it as well, is doing a bit of content at the races. Say, a horse finishing, going past the line and that. Little things like that. It's small little things I enjoy doing. But when you see then the likes or the views and that, you're thinking, geez, maybe I am doing something right here. Like, it kind of encourages you just keep doing it. Like,
Yeah.
and the same then with the Grassroots, when they put the articles on Instagram and they make it into a reel, into a video. I just every time I get goosebumps. I think it's just class the way to do it.
Yeah, you do. I'm the same. It's like, yeah, I did that. That's mine. And they tag you as a collaborator as well.
You stick the chest out nearly, like, look at this kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it is. It is such a buzz. Like, and you know, it's nice to see like people are reading it as well, and it's helping. Like, your articles aren't just reporting on what's going on. Like, you've done stuff where you've gone into yards, and it's showing that other side of racing that I think a lot of people need to see. They need to see the back end.
Yeah,
And I think the videos of the back end as well, a lot of people are interested in seeing what goes on back there because you just see this, like, what, 2 3 minute snapshot of a horse going around the track.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. No, I totally agree. And who was actually very good to me was actually is very good to me is Shane Duffy. I could
yes,
pick up the phone to Shane, or look. Every trainer is extremely busy, no matter if they have 100 horses in or it's two horses. Every trainer is extremely busy. They're running a business, and if I needed to chat to Shane or anything, I'd pick up the phone, I'd text him, and he'd say, "Look, give me a call, whatever." Never any bother whatsoever. And that was one of the yards I actually went up to, and we were treated like royalty.
Mm.
And that's genuinely being honest. We sent my father went up there for the day out, and we were treated like royalty. You know, showing everything around, showing everywhere around the yard. The Gallop, they have a home. They brought horses away that morning as well, and it's things like that I'm very grateful for. That someone can say, "Yeah, come into my yard, and you can do this." I'll be always grateful for things like that, and not only that, but himself and his dad are two actually genuine gentlemen.
I've met them, yeah, they are absolutely
Yeah,
lovely people. And again, that's showing you there, like, there's someone who's in the industry working at a high level and they still just welcome you in and treat you like one of their own.
yeah, 100%. It just shows the person they really are and the genuine people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So now that you've started doing like the videos a bit, content, what is next for From the Horse's Mouth Racing?
Funny enough, it just happened to happen about 2 weeks ago. I was out with a couple of friends and I bumped into a chap, two lads from town, sorry, and they were on about they have a syndicate, and I was saying, "Jeez," I said, because I was trying to get a syndicate kind of going myself, and it's very hard to get people to commit to it.
Hmm.
You know, and a lot of people think, "Oh, well, what are we going to get out of it?" Well, I can't guarantee you you're going to be a millionaire. I can't guarantee you that. You know, like nobody can guarantee that with horses. But I said can guarantee you a great day out. So I just got talking to a few lads. They have a syndicate there, and they asked me to get involved with it. So I said, you know what? I said, I'm asking people around and I'm getting no answers. It's going nowhere. So I said, you know what? I said, I just got involved with it.
Yeah.
So they're chipping away the few bob every week, and we'll end up buying something anyway. So what we're buying yet, I don't know. Hopefully, it's the next Istabrack. It could be anything. So, well, look, it really doesn't matter to be honest with you. Like as I said, like I was in the game for a fair length of time, so I know what to kind of expect. And what I'm really looking forward to is a good day out, like at the races, and experience the whole lot from the inside as a syndicate. Like so,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
It gets you back into it as well, in a sense. Like,
Oh,
it puts you back in touch with the industry.
yeah, it really does. Yeah, and when I always said this as well, if you're on the inside looking from the outside, it's always the better way because there's no point in being on the outside looking at the inside. If does that
Mm.
make sense?
It does, yeah, I
It's
get
when
what
you're
you.
in that close circle and there's people around you, people familiarize your face. They kind of might know they might not know what you're doing sometimes, but they might know the name or and get to know you like, and that's always a good thing is being on the inside looking at the outside.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah, it does. I feel that as well because like at the moment I'm not riding, but if I go up to an event or anything like that, I'm like, God, I'd love to be in as part of it. And you get to know everyone, and it's more
Yeah,
like you're included. You're not just a spectator.
yeah. But there's always that buzz of it.
Yeah, and of course, like you're going to be cheering on your pony.
Oh yeah, definitely. It has to be done.
Yeah. I refer to all horses. I don't care if they're like a Shetland or a massive like police horse. I refer to them as ponies.
Holy.
Yeah. It's a term of endearment.
Yeah.
I think, James, that is pretty much everything I have to ask you. But I do have one question that I ask everyone at the end of the podcast, and that is, what is
Okay.
the best advice that you've ever been given?
Best advice I've ever been given. Work hard, keep your head down, and when an opportunity knocks, grab it with both hands.
I love that because you live by that as well. You can see the way you're telling your like the story
Yeah,
of the
that's
jockey and everything. Like,
that's what I would say to anyone. Work hard. Hard work always pays off.
yeah, that's it. So, if anyone is looking to find you, where can they find you, James?
So I am on Instagram on From the Horse's Mouth Racing, or you could just type in my own name as well. It's underneath the name on the account. It's James Brennan, and not only that, but you'd find a lot of my articles or videos as well through the Grassroots on Facebook or on Instagram as well. So that's where people can find me if they're looking for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of your stuff actually. The racing stuff is
It's
always
lost.
there on Grassroots Gazette now. It's great
Yeah,
though. It's good to see it because the racing went quiet for a while. So it's great to have someone there again, putting in the content all the time.
yeah. And as I said, it's something I'm really enjoying. So it ain't stopping anytime soon.
Great, we love to hear that. And just so everyone knows, with me, if you are looking to find me, you will find me on Instagram and TikTok. So on Instagram, it's at Strong the Saddle with an underscore. With TikTok, it's at Strong the Saddle without an underscore because I got there first. And my website is www.chrissyhawkins.com. So yeah, I just want to say thanks again for joining us today, James.
Lucy, thanks a million for having me on. I really appreciate it.
I really do appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. So if you please could help me with the algorithm and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even, if you want to reach out and suggest topics for me, I'd be delighted to hear from you. Drop me a DM on Instagram or TikTok. And thanks again for listening.